Are you ready, Michael?
Ready. Ask the question.
Thanks so much for joining us, Tracy. We really appreciate you taking the time. The first question is, why are you running for state office?
I decided to run for state office because as an African American woman serving 29 years with the Auditor General's office and a CPA serving as Audit Bureau Director of 5 different bureaus, there's no one else in Pennsylvania who has my experience. And so I wanted to use that to run for Auditor General, hopefully get elected, and be the first person of color serving in a state row office while actually using my experience to help a department that has been broken from the standpoint of staff because of various budget cuts over the years.
So you talked in the earlier session about the Auditor General's office really being understaffed, and so the question is, what is your commitment to hiring folks of color in the Auditor General's office?
Well, first, before I can hire anybody in the Auditor General's office, I would have to get a commitment from the legislature to increase our staff size. When I started under the Hafer administration, we had 850 employees statewide. And I'm not saying that we need to grow our roles from 392 people to 850, but I think a 200 employee increase at least is needed. So what I would do is I do have a commitment to hire qualifying persons of color to ensure that we have a racially balanced staff.
Wonderful. So again, building on this issue of diversity in hiring, what is your belief in diversity and inclusion? Like, what are your values that are focusing on diversity and inclusion?
My values are simply related to we all deserve a seat at the table. And so I've worked in an environment where, you know, I've been, for a long time, I had been close to, you know, if not only the only black bureau director in the department, to our numbers being increased by 50%, which meant that there was one added, you know. So it is difficult sometimes with the Auditor General's office because our entry-level salaries aren't as high as what some people would think that they would find in private industry. But I think that we can also increase how we look and how we identify people for hire, so that I can cast a wider net to find persons of color who are interested in the department, a career with the department.
And can you talk a little bit about your experience with auditing?
My experience with auditing, oddly enough, when I came to the Auditor General's office, I didn't have any auditing experience other than my co-ops at Drexel University was with the IRS. So I had done tax auditing. And I came to the Auditor General's office actually with 2 parts of the CPA exam passed and no supervisor experience. And I had a bureau director who took a chance on me and hired me as a field supervisor. So I learned on the job, you know, in terms of how to audit and how to supervise at the same time. And I was blessed to have a staff of rank and file employees who showed me what they did, along with great supervisors and a manager who actually helped me out as well. And I found out that through that process that I had a real knack for the work.
And so can you talk about what your specific expertise is in the auditing field?
My specific expertise is related to auditing in a sense is based on where you look, okay? And so my expertise has really grown into developing risk-based audit approaches where I can take and work with a limited amount of staff and really focus in on those areas that we have assessed to be the highest risk of having problems, okay? So instead of looking at the areas that have always been looked at in the past, you cast a wider net is the best way that I can explain it. So during my tenure, I've been assigned to 5 different audit bureaus as a bureau director because I'm known for reducing audit backlog while also strengthening testing procedures. So I've basically been used as a person to clean up other bureaus after those directors have retired.
So would you say that's the area that you focus in on, sort of that efficiency area, or are there other areas that you focus in on?
I focus in on a wide range of areas, but most importantly, I would say the top one is learning how or excelling at doing more with less, because that's the environment that I've worked in, for the past 15, 20 years. So in addition to that, strong writing and editing skills, strong supervisory skills. I'm really strong in the understanding of our ASPE union contract so that I can successfully manage rank and file employees. And while I may have had quite a few grievances filed against me, during my tenure as a bureau director, the department has never lost one.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to share before we finish?
I'd just like to say that being a first-time candidate, especially running for a statewide office, I didn't know exactly all that I was getting into, but I'm learning the process as I go along, and that there's a lot more to this process than just being technically proficient. And so I'm working on developing the rest of those skills as I go. I would love to be Pennsylvania's next Auditor General. I'm a hard worker, I'm dedicated. I think 29 years with the same organization and surviving in that organization successfully for the past 29 years under 4 different Auditor Generals speaks to, my background and my experience. I'm also a very ethical person, which is one of the top priorities you should have for an Auditor General. I'm ready, I'm willing, and I want to be Pennsylvania's next Auditor General to do a good job for the citizens of Pennsylvania.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay, good.